We are going into our third game. This is our second series to make it to game number 3 so far here in our third split. So I'm excited to see which one of these teams is going to have the edge in this one, because in both games, it looked like both teams had different opportunities to win it. The last game, I believe, was closer than the first one, and we'll see if Shopify can complete the reversal or if Disguise has what it takes to lock in and find their series win here.
I mean, both teams honestly look really even. Straight up, over both games, I feel like either team could have won either game. There were opportunities for both sides. Fudge looking very concentrated, I will say, as he was kind of thinking about what the next pick was going to be. So they're talking a lot about this. It's coming down to the final seconds there on the pick, and it is going to be Sejuani to answer. So you are then expecting immediately seeing some of these melee solo laners as the pairings. Things that I'm thinking of are like Sylas or Yone, things along those lines. I think Ken is quite strong. Yone's banned, so Sylas could be a possibility. But instead, it's going to be the Lucian early on. Of course, you still could go towards one of those melee soul laners on 3. It used to be that we always saw Lucian Nami, but at MSI, it was almost exclusively, it felt like Lucian Braum. Yeah. Lucian Milio is still also an answer, but I don't think you necessarily need it against this style comp. And Xayah Rakan, the insta-lock-in on the other side.
Okay, there's the bot lane, there's the response to the Lucian and whatever buddy he's going to have. It is kind of sad for Lucian that he's one of the only characters literally designed with like a married partner character, but yet he spends all his time hanging out with fish and bodybuilders instead. His poor wife just gets left to hang out with the catfish.
Just a fake marriage.
Yeah, it just doesn't work out. But we've got the Orianna locked in here for Shopify for the mid lane, so just about the most standard mid laner you could pick, fits into just about anything.
Yeah, it is very, very standard, but I feel like why would you first pick Sejuani if you're not going to do melee solo laners with it? To me, is kind of my question. Now, doesn't mean we're not going to get some sort of like melee counter pick from top lane or something along those lines, but it does mean that you're going to have protection bans here for DSG, right? Because if I'm DSG, I'm thinking, all right, Sejuani without some sort of like melee pairing for the top lane is not going to be that powerful. So if I'm on top side, I am just potentially double banning some of those answers, but it is going to be an Alistar instead. They do ban away the Scion. So again, Shopify are trying to set up for some sort of a counter. They're saying, okay, we're going to take away what are your safest blind picks, right? So K'Sante's gone, Renekton's gone, even the Rumble is gone. Those are all pretty popular top lane blind picks. Gwen is getting blind picked in a lot of regions quite a bit. LPL, LCK especially. Scion is banned out. So question is, what pairing does he have up his sleeve? Because Ambessa is banned, Renekton, Gwen, Rumble, K'Sante, those are all, melee top laners that are all off the table here.
All right, what's it gonna be, Shopify Rebellion? No Braum, no Alistar, no Aurora, no Scion in this second half. Azir, Pantheon, Varus, Ambessa, Poppy, Yone, the first 6 from back at the start of the draft. This one would be interesting, but I'm not really thinking that we're going to get Lucian Blitzcrank as the play.
I mean, the Alistar ban is interesting to me because it's like, if you're going to ban Lucian pairings, I feel like Braum, Nami are the ones that get played by far the most, right? So Alistar is a little bit interesting, but maybe that is something that's popping up more in scrims, an answer to that. But yeah, just not one of the common pairings for Lucian in pro play. Feels like, I don't know, I want to say like 80-90% of the time it feels like it's either Nami or Braum. With a splash of Milio, and very rare to see anything outside that. They are considering the Yorick. I hate Yorick blind, but it is definitely an option. I mean, you can go towards things like Cho'Gath. I think you can go towards things that are a lot more spicy than that. Of course, like the Aurelia, like the Fiora, the Camille, etc. But if you want to play just something like standard safe, you can go Cho'Gath, and I think it's a really strong answer. We've also seen Mordekaiser be one of the answers that Whippo likes, so there are a number of melee champions that I think are quite effective and are going to be good pairings, with that Sejuani. Jax, I think, is fine. Jax definitely can potentially outscale the Yorick in that side lane. But the one thing I will say about this matchup is I feel like if the Yorick is playing it well and just constantly hitting the E's, you can sometimes just kind of like poke down the Jax, where some of the other matchups that are more difficult, it feels more oppressive from the start kind of thing. So Jax, I feel like, is more manageable but can outscale. Just kind of can struggle with some of the poke that Yorick can put out, especially once you're post 6 and you have a Maiden. It can be kind of difficult for Jax to actually deal with.
So which comp do you like better here, would you say?
I think even despite some of the Jax counterpick, whatever. I feel like I like DSG's more for sure. I feel like they have really good engage. They have a lot of ways to actually play out this game. I think you can play heavily through side lanes. I think it's difficult for the Jax and the Sejuani to actually get in and kill off Rahel on this Xayah. So I feel like I really do like what they've drafted. Lucian seems pretty hard to play into Rakan and Wukong, with the amount of follow-up that they have as well. It's like you're relatively short range, and there's such explosive engage that if you step forward to try to get that damage out, it's easy for them to get those go buttons on you and maybe just burst you down. So I do think Shopify have the harder comp to play, but it'll be interesting to see if that does come into it.
All right, let's do it. Time for game number 3 to see which one of these two has what it takes to come out on top. And remember, we will still be having another banner ceremony after this one, so more show to be had after the gameplay is done today, as we'll see which one of the losing teams, pick who for their opponents for next week, because next week's the end of the pick and play phase. The schedule changes up a couple of different times throughout this split, and that first phase will be over at the end of just next week.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a lot more up in the air. Last time, I think it was super easy to predict who was going to pick who in what order. Now I think it is a little bit more up to the choice of the teams, right? We see that TL does have an additional win. Obviously, one match win, is tied with Lion, but they do have that extra game win because they won their first week. But I feel like teams might still pick, TL, they might still pick Lion. It kind of just depends how your scrims are going. Even though Lion beat TL, I think you can make arguments for either side, just kind of based on the comfortability of the scrim partners. So it'll be interesting to actually see, who picks who this weekend, if we can end up with some pretty spicy matchups for week 3.
All right, DARKWINGS and Palafox, I think both of these guys have the opportunity to really lock in the win on their own performance if they have a standout job here in game number 3. I think they've both had some good moments, and they've both had some really not so good moments so far in these first couple of games. So if either one of them can really just focus up, zero in, and play to their best, I think that could be a big X factor.
Yeah, totally can. I mean, DARKWINGS, I think, was pretty solid in game 1. Game 2, it felt like he was getting kind of picked a lot more. Getting caught in the side lane a couple times before some of those big team fights and struggling to stay safe at times. Bvoy is going to be playing eXyu, so it is kind of more this pokey style. We can see that it's going to be airy, it is going to be eXyu, and Seos and Bvoy are going to be trying to put that pressure on. Bvoy, I do think, is a good Lucian. This is one of the guys in the league who has looked pretty consistently strong on it. So we'll see how much pressure they can put on. Because Lucian, again, it's very strong at actually playing through mid lane and controlling that space. But I do think it's really difficult at times if you're not way ahead to actually play out the 5v5s.
Especially, like you said, against powerful engage like a Wukong, like a Rakan, because of the fact that it's not just the initial trying to go in and dodging the grand entrance, dodging the first cast of the Cyclone. You've still got to deal with the charms that Rakan has afterwards. You've still got to deal with the second Cyclone as well. And before Champion Select, Huhi was trying to hype up his teammates for this Game 3. Let's listen in.
Yeah, let's have fun, guys. It's for fun, right? We're playing for fun. Passion. This is what we were playing. Top 4 is right there. Top 4 is right there, guys. Yeah, let's have fun.
Huhi always, I think, is a player that has really good vibes. Like, he's just a nice guy. He genuinely seems happy. He's always kind of laughing and enjoying himself on the player cams, which is just really fun to see. As Rahel taking the bad end of a trade there, and we were watching as Fudge has been taking some really good trades against Castle. Yeah. Castle missed a couple of those morning miss in a row, and honestly, like, that's your whole laning phase as Yorick. It's just like, do you hit your E's? And if you do, you stack the ghouls, you pop the E, and you can force out the counter-strike from Jax, just actually negate damage from that, or he just has to tank the damage, right? Yeah. And you're going to be able to actually whittle him down in that way. But if you're missing those, Jax is just going to keep jumping on you every time counter-strike is up and putting that pressure on you, which is kind of how the lane has gone thus far. And as a result, Fudge is pretty far ahead as far as the CS is concerned. 9 CS early on is not insignificant.
And I mean, you mentioned it back in the draft. If Jax is going to struggle, it will be early. But if he gets through laning phase, feeling great, being up a wave, never really getting pressured by the Yorick, then Fudge will feel fantastic. His Renekton in game number 2 was a huge reason why Shopify was just able to run disguised over and take the dub in that one. And Jax is another one of these characters that you can really become raid boss status on.
Yeah, it really is. They're going to try to put some pressure on Fudge. He has TP down to bot lane to try to cover there. Castle, because he was pushed in and their bot lane was pushed in, their tempo is kind of ruined now because Lucian has arrived, Nami has arrived top lane, Castle never got to reset, and he never got to crash the wave. So now he's in this spot where, like, that is a wave you could permanently freeze, right?
Yeah.
And Castle is in this really awkward spot. Yes, he is up levels, but he's just on a D shield. Like, he doesn't have much, so he's just going to try to stay in experience range. And DARKWINGS could be in some trouble.
Ooh, has to flash away there to avoid the gank from Contractz. And without a whole lot of mobility in the kit, I mean, yeah, you can speed yourself up if you make the little water pathway, but DARKWINGS definitely a viable target now as Fudge in a 1v2 bottom lane just drops the counter-strike, try to get himself away, but the grand entrance from huhi forces the flash.
Yeah, and you can see DARKWINGS, he had already lost his flash, but more importantly, he already even TP'd back, and his buy was just a control ward and a refillable. So something went really bad in the early laning phase that we didn't actually get to see for him to have been forced that low to actually TP back on almost no buy, right? Now he is going to be able to push out one more time and try to base. Palafox will TP back immediately, and he has his full lost chapter, so he's going to be pretty happy about that. And things still a bit weird right now for DSG as finally Castle goes down towards bot side. They are now trying to match this swap up towards top. But you know that wave I said could be permanently frozen? It's still frozen. So this is all CS that has been denied. Look at top lane CS, look at bot lane CS, right? Like a lot of this is because of the wave states, because both lanes got pushed in and were losing. And both lanes got locked into this weird spot where they couldn't actually reset the waves properly before their opponents came and answered. So now as a result, DSG are kind of paying that price and are going to be behind in both top and bot.
Yeah, Disguised not loving these first 6 minutes of gameplay here. Remember that in both of the previous 2 games, the first dragon was taken pretty early. Started up around the 6-minute mark or slightly earlier, and it looks like Contractz is looking to keep a similar tempo here in game number 3 as he makes his way towards the dragon pit. He has priority in the bottom lane. Fudge controlling the push down there means that it feels safer to do things around that dragon pit if you need to, but Palafox now tagged the Spiraling Despair. DARKWINGS, though, caught in the Glacial Prison, and that's easy money for Contractz.
Nice repeat gank there from Contractz. Forced the flash earlier, comes right back, gets the kill. And mid lane was already losing. Now it is losing even more. You know, that lost chapter early on for Palafox versus just the boots and that glowing moat are obviously going to be a much better buy. And he's going to get the push. And now huhi and Rahel again getting pushed back. Bvoy, you know, used that barrier early just to be able to get the recall off so it wasn't actually interrupted, absorb some damage to get that recall, and now is able to have it back up again and just continuing to put that pressure on. huhi is playing Spellbook Rakan, which obviously can have value later on, but for now, they are definitely on the bad end of these trades, it feels like.
1,000 gold lead, not even 7.5 minutes into the game. And man, in terms of components, Glowing Moat and Blue Crystal feel like 2 of the biggest pieces of junk to have to buy in the game when you can't actually build them into something more meaningfully. So DARKWINGS' early itemization has just been feeling the worst so far this game. Not saying he's doing anything wrong, but just all of the checkpoints that he's having to go back at are not allowing him to buy these purchases that feel better, that feel like they're going to make you significantly stronger in lane. Whereas Palafox just gets the dream purchase for a mage on their first recall. Lost chapter, great, you're in business.
And now he has the tier 2 boots as well, right? So he has everything that DARKWINGS has and much more here. huhi coming to cover. They know that DARKWINGS is having to push out, still has no flash. And Contractz and Palafox both did not spend theirs, even though they killed him. So he's going to have to be really careful here. You don't want to walk up too close, or they could look for an engage onto you. The Grubs feel like DSG is in a position where they want to try to contest, but I don't think it's going to go well if they try.
Okay, Disguised. Do you really want to fight for it here? Shopify controlling the pit for now. Should just be able to claim that first one easy peasy. There it is. Seos body blocking any sort of a maybe attempt at a steal from a Gleaming Quill. Smite going to be used on Grub number 2. So Shopify already has a majority, but it looks like for the first time this series, Isaac, we are going to see all 3 Grubs go the same direction, and that direction is Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what happens. All 3 lanes lost, right? And as a jungler, you know that feeling. And it is not a good one.
Bad.
When all 3 of your lanes just kind of naturally are losing, it is very difficult to be able to actually contest at these objectives because everyone's pushed in, everyone's going to be late. It is just a tough spot to be in, and DARKWINGS going to eat that shockwave. Should just be able to back it off and TP back, but the pressure is continuing from these Shopify lanes, and it will have to do that as they do have some of this kind of more early game focus, I would say, with the Lucian, Nami, and so on, but they are looking really good, even though it's not a massive lead. They have just been the ones kind of dictating the pace and having the pressure.
So a nice little bit of silver lining here for the side of Disguise is at least they've got one individual lead in Castle versus Fudge down there in that bottom lane, finally finding his footing here on the Yorick, feeling a little bit better about this head-to-head, but it is still significant leads for Shopify in jungle and in both carry roles, which is going to prove to be a problem as the culling will clear out the entire wave up here. eXyu is hanging around. They knew that they had the Wukong ulti. You have Rakan flash ulti. You're thinking maybe we can make some kind of a dive, put some pressure on, but Shopify answered.
And you can see Contractz was recalling, but he was recalling on a ward over by the dragon. So that's why they were trying to look for that play, because they knew exactly where Contractz was. So they're saying, you know what? There's no chance of a counter gank. And Palafox still does not have his TP. It's just a sliver remaining there. They could see Fudge, so Castle was around. And they tried to look for that play, but early culling does prevent it, and Fudge is going to swap back up towards topside now. This time, though, Castle will be able to match him pretty quickly. Does crash the wave prior, and is going to be happy about that. So their lane states does feel like it's stabilizing a little bit here, and as a result, I think they're in a much better spot.
Both top laners still working towards those Trinity Forces getting completed. First major item is done, and it's completed for Contractz, who does have the bonus money from getting the kill on the first blood. He's got his Heart Steal not even 11 minutes into the game, and especially for Heart Steal specifically because of the nature of the item, it always feels good to get the first kill or two in the game, get accelerated, and start stacking that faster.
Yeah, exactly. If they're going to be scrapping a lot, you're going to get a lot of extra stacks there. You're going to get that value. But Castle has his TP and did hold on to that, so does work up towards this top side, is going to have TP advantage on that top side, so there is potential here for DSG to try to look for something. Of course, if you do TP away from the Jax, then there is an opportunity for him to farm some of those plates, can do a lot of damage very quickly. But you can see that Fudge is sitting back pretty defensively under his tower right now, knows that eXyu is on that side of the map, and Contractz was not, so feeling a little bit nervous, I think, about his position in that 1v1.
Yeah, I mean, he's caught up pretty well to the Yorick, right? He's not even down 100 gold right now, so as long as you don't do anything egregious, give them an open window to try to force a lead up here, you're feeling all right about the state of things. The Maiden of the Mist is still active. You can see there for Castle as well, as he's going to bring her down here into this topside river. 3 minutes still on the clock until we have the Herald spawning. Bottom lane control remains in the possession of Shopify Rebellion, as Bvoy and Xayah is going to grab another plate. Nice bubble there from Xayah too, as Rahel. That's a lot of damage.
Yeah, loses more than half his HP, and it does have a potion or two running here with the refillable. We'll be able to collect this next wave, but yeah, huhi wasn't there with him, and so Rahel had to give up a fair bit of that farm, and they lost a plate. And so Bvoy, on that completed Essence Reaver, already a lot stronger right now, and Rahel is going to have to be playing pretty defensively, it feels like, until he at least has that item. Contractz is in the face of all of them. Is just going to be able to do that scuttle.
That was completely disrespectful from Contractz, but he doesn't get punished for it. Just walks up, takes the crab. All right, see ya. Easy pickup there for Shopify Rebellion. It's a one-kill game, Azael, with a nearly 2,000 gold lead for Shopify Rebellion. Turret plates haven't even fallen yet. It's still a minute away from that happening. Bvoy and Xayah are keeping the pressure on as the culling whittles away the HP of Rahel and huhi. Nice piercing light through the minion wave. Going to find even more poke. Bubble doesn't hit that time. Contractz in the enemy jungle, but eXyu's hanging around here as well. huhi stepping back towards the Krug area, drops a ward over the wall that's going to spot Contractz, trying to steal away this red buff. With eyes on the Shopify jungler, Disguised at least know everything that's going on here, but the problem is they can't stop it. Contractz steals the red and hits level 9 off of him.
You know it, but it's not good. You got a nanny cam at home, you see someone robbing you, you're aware, but they're still taking your TV.
Yeah, I can't exactly stop them from long distance, so unfortunately for them, Contractz gets the whole damn living room, and he's going to exfiltrate right after. This Drake, remember I was talking about earlier, both previous games, the first Drake was done with 6 minutes on the clock. This time around, Contractz found that one kill that we've had so far this game at that timer instead, and now finally going to come back towards that Drake. First one very slow, almost 14 minutes into the game before that's claimed.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those demoralizing games, though, for Shopify, for DSG against Shopify, because everyone just kind of feels like they're slowly losing. Castle's in an okay spot, but it is definitely tough. Every time we pan around the map, it's like, oh, they're losing another plate, they're losing another objective, they're losing another buff.
Yeah.
And it is going to be difficult. Usually these kind of games, I feel like, come down to one major fight, and it's kind of like when DSG decides to fight. If they do not win that, then they're kind of cooked, right? Because you're already down 2K, and from those kind of positions, you usually get one good swing, one good punch.
Yep.
And if that does not work out, if you get aced, if you get taken out, then that is usually it for the game. So DSG are going to have to be really careful about where they actually pick their moment. But this is definitely the most lopsided game by far. It really felt pretty even throughout most of the first 2 games. But this time, they're just kind of struggling across the board. I mean, I keep saying that, but I guess I have to be fair that Castle has created an advantage for himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely been much more of a struggle than the last 2 games.
Well, we've got the Herald up now, and you can see a lot of vision being placed down by Shopify Rebellion up here, warding out those brushes, trying to maintain control. Contractz puts a little bit of damage onto Huhi, who has to battle dance back out to the safety of Rahel waiting nearby. As Shopify Rebellion maintain control over the topside river, Bvoy is pushing out the wave in top lane. The bottom lane situation there in the 1v1, you can see Fudge just trying to scrap back and forth with Castle, but Yorick is very obnoxious in these types of situations. Castle still feeling fully comfortable in this 1v1. Both teleports, both flashes are available for the top laners. Nice bubble, immediately followed up with the Glacial Prison. Palafox gets the second kill of the game for Shopify Rebellion. So easy after the nice catch there from Seos and Contractz.
Yeah, and going to be able to get the tower in their face as well. And Contractz, able to find that nice engage. They have the CC, they just pull off that dive. Huhi now has the McHale's, which is a great answer to this Sejuani. DARKWINGS trying to push in, trying to get some pressure on this tower, but clearly not going to be able to knock it down. Will have to back off after this wave, very likely. But Castle also lost his ult. He was trying to get a little bit more spicy, I think, and kind of trying to push up and hit that tower. But that does mean that the Jax can then just kind of turn on your ult, and you can't really fight back when the ult is hitting the tower.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people will use their E under tower, and they hit the E under tower. The ulti's just kind of hitting them, but you can't actually then stand there as the Yorick themselves, or the tower will hit you. So they can just kind of fight your ult and sometimes kill it in that position. So Castle now finding himself in a bit of a difficult spot, has to try to clear this wave.
Yeah, and now that they know there's no Maiden of the Mist to try to protect him, Contractz and Fudge want to make the move to continue keeping the pressure on down here in the bottom lane. Turret destroyed, Shopify Rebellion. That gold lead is up over 3,000. It will shrink a little bit below that mark here as the Tier 1 turret is claimed by DARKWINGS up in the top lane. But Azael, you already said it earlier, man. This is getting so dicey for the side of Disguise. They're going to have to pick a moment, and they're going to have to pick very wisely.
Yeah.
We don't even have feats claimed yet because there's still only 2 kills in the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have feats yet. Yeah, exactly. Like you say, not enough objectives taken and not enough kills grabbed just yet. But they do have that first tower. They've taken 2 towers, and it's feeling very one-sided for now. And you're looking over at the item completions, and it's like, yeah, DSG is trying to scrap up enough gold to get some of those items in, but the second item is already in for Bvoy. He is at a very strong point in the game. Essence Reaver plus that rapid fire. And you do have the mandate done for a while for Seos. So going to be able to get really heavy poke here. Playing around that mid lane. And now DSG just trying to look for some sort of an invade. Might be able to push out Contractz, but they've got to be careful about a potential shockwave with the wall too.
Yeah, well, invade for a little bit of Gromp violence here, but
no one's answering top.
yeah, the entire time Fudge is just knocking down structures. That gold lead still about 3,000 here. And even though those feats aren't claimed, it is worth pointing out, the stuff that has been claimed, both neutral objectives so far, both kills so far, are in Shopify's hands. So if they get one of anything, they're in.
Yep, exactly. So very likely we'll be able to grab that upgraded boot. They do get that tier 1 tower on the bot side as they were kind of looking for that invade. That bought some time for them to be able to knock that down, but of course was traded back by Fudge. And Fudge now has even opened up a little bit of a gold lead for himself, so it is all red when you're looking at those gold leads.
Yep.
Everyone on Shopify ahead right now, and mid lane very significantly so, as Palafox is soon going to have his second item, and both those carries will be ready to go.
Okay, potential catch here onto Fudge, but not really a whole lot of threat with just eXyu and huhi trying to deal damage to the Jax. All right, Azael, if it's you, if you're shot calling, coaching, whatever you want to call it here, where would you want to see them take the fight if you're disguised, because you don't have the pressure of like a fast soul stack on.
Yeah.
But it's not like this money lead is going anywhere anytime soon. Contractz, nice Glacial Prison there, as he could be potentially caught out, but DARKWINGS doesn't do enough damage alone. The Glacial Prison stopped any reinforcements from being able to show up.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really well done, I think, by Bvoy as well. Bvoy and Seos zoned them off from actually following up. You know, eXyu is just getting pushed back on the side, because I think the thought process here is DARKWINGS gets enough damage onto Contractz, eXyu and the rest of the team come in, then they finish him off, and then they get the Dragon, which is a good look.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the Lucian and the Nami just stop you from actually getting that backup that you were looking for. And to go back to your question as far as like where would you want to see them kind of draw that line in the sand?
Yeah.
I think generally what you're doing in these kind of games is you're trying to get towards an item completion where they just have pieces but haven't completed their next item above you. And then you're trying to say, okay, we're going to fight. So right now, you know, you're on 1 in pieces, they're on 2. You're probably hoping, okay, we're going to get towards 2 before they get towards 3, right? So they're going to be on 2 in pieces. And I think that is where you're probably going to try to take your fight. You know, maybe this next Dragon, something like that. That's generally how I think about it when I'm losing a game, is just like, yeah, they're still going to have an advantage if they have an extra BF sword or whatever, but the item completions are so much more efficient than the parts that that's your best hope.
All right, that's what we'll keep an eye on then. We'll see if Disguised can find their moment. But on the opposite side of that coin, it means that for Shopify, you got to be looking right now, because this is a great chance to use the extra power of those extra completed items like we're talking about, right? You got Storm Surge plus Luden's Companion on Palafox. This is not a defensive Orianna build. This is not Rod of Ages into Seraph's Embrace. This thing is going to hurt if Palafox hits a Shockwave.
Yeah, it's that one combo threat that you're going to have here. And the other side of it is as well that, like, yeah, it's pretty clear that DSG wants to fight when they're relatively even on items, but Shopify can also say, we got the Dragons. We don't actually have to show up for a fight where we're not going to be an item completion ahead, right? Because we are dictating this game. So, you know, if this next Dragon spawns and they're both kind of on 2 items apiece and they just have these extra components, if they don't think that it's a guaranteed win, they don't need to go. They can just play through side lanes with Jax, pressure towers, continue to extend their advantage, take away some of these jungle camps, and just wait till that 3rd item comes through, because they're always going to be ahead of the pace as far as those completions are concerned. And then, you know, you're kind of just depending upon a really explosive engage, finding something to really flip the game on its head. You know, Castle has been doing totally fine in the Yorick, and sometimes 1 kill in a side lane really can do so much work, because Yorick crushes towers, right? So I wouldn't mind seeing, you know, eXyu or whoever being just kind of playing behind that Yorick and trying to find, you know, 2v1, trying to find some sort of play that can buy Yorick time on a tower, because all of a sudden the game can be looking really good for you. You get 1 gank, 1 kill on that Jax, and Yorick can knock down multiple towers.
All right, let's see if Disguise can find their moment here, summoning up the Herald, trying to use it to engage after Contractz and Seos. eXyu diving in, trying to go fishing, finds a knock-up, but now he's got to make sure he doesn't get himself stranded, as Fudge is going to arrive here with a teleport. The Herald just going to walk up, lazily auto-attack the tier 1 turret, as they don't get any value there with a collision, so they will not take down the turret here just yet. Problem is, now the Maiden's getting caught out. Now that's going to be a massive drop in power for the Yorick until that cooldown is back available. Yeah, the AI on the Maiden leaves something to be desired at times. It can definitely be really frustrating when it's just kind of lagging behind like that. I mean, you know, look at how far Castle is down on that bottom side. You know, he was already heading over there, but the Maiden was pretty slow to react. I think it was honestly a decent look from eXyu, but they don't get the crash. And at the end of the day, that teleport from Fudge is going to be turned into an Otacon attempt here. Okay. eXyu is in the area, but the question is, can he actually get vision? Can he get close enough? He's pretty split from the team, but would have a good flank angle. Okay, eXyu trying to find a way in. Castle's going to be the intended target here for Shopify Rebellion, but they don't find him in time. Nice engage from eXyu. Huhi trying to get away off to the side. His Contractz also has to flash. The Spiraling Despair sets it up, so Castle can take it down. But Castle loses his own life in the process. Now Fudge got to be a little bit wary of all these feathers from the Xayah. Disguised, beautifully done there to earn themselves a 1-for-1 trade on kills and steal the Otacon away. It cost them a lot of flashes, but they do kill off Contractz, and as soon as they kill off Contractz, yeah, Castle goes down, but they realize, you know what, we can just focus down the Otacon and take this away. And this game, unlike that first game where they got the Otacon, they actually have a big pedal advantage, right? Because they have been having Yorick playing through the side lanes. We can watch it one more time. eXyu is coming in, and they're trying to actually target Palafox, but Palafox was very quick on the reaction. Watch him flash away as huhi and eXyu both flash in.
instantly gets out, but the Shockwave had been used very early from Palafox, and it only hit huhi. So I think that was one of the really core components that allowed them to kind of enforce their will on this fight, realizing, you know what, we can group up and flash in because Shockwave is down. It didn't get a lot of value. Yeah, we didn't kill Palafox, but we killed the jungler, we took the Otacon, and now, yes, you are down 2K, but this is a lot of extra power from the adaptive force, and so you will still have to worry about those earlier item completions coming through. But as far as the actual stats, the game is a lot closer.
I just had producers get in my ear. So it's 2.1K on the scoreboard favoring Shopify. 1.8K is the value of the flowers that Disguised have over Shopify. So essentially,
Flowers dropping flower knowledge.
this game is even, man. Disguised, we put the pressure on. We said, look, you're falling behind. It's slipping away. Your moment's got to be good, and that moment was. Now, Palafox going to try to TP out in time. That was close.
It looked like Darkwing kind of hesitated a little bit when he was walking in. He like walked in, then stutter stepped back a little bit, and then went forward. Wonder if he could have got there in time. But they are going to grab the dragon on the bottom side. So you try to make a play like that on top side, and Shopify do take their third dragon here. And they're going to move to Soul Point here pretty early on.
Okay, Contractz eating some damage over the front line. Does get locked up by Disguise, but the bubble was beautiful, and now Disguise has to try to be careful. The Blade Caller finds a rune and a Fudge, and Contractz slows him up here a little bit, but Shopify Rebellion happy enough with how that played out.
Yeah, the bubble, I think, actually interrupted huhi on his grand entrance with the quickness popped. And again, the maiden dies. Yorick without a wife for most of this game, unfortunately.
He is maidenless.
He is maidenless.
Alas, poor Yannick.
It's like Raz.
Oh, he's not even here to defend such a headshot for no reason whatsoever.
It was there. I just had to reach out and grab it.
That was some dirty work, man.
I'm sorry, Raz. Not that sorry, but a little bit.
I can hear the what the hell all the way from the lounge right now.
Oh man.
All right, so Yorick, unfortunately without his maiden for a while longer now. That cooldown stays pretty nasty for a long time.
Oh yeah.
It's a very powerful ult, and with great power comes great cooldown. 65 seconds still until he can get that one back. And his split push pressure, his split push speed is just so greatly reduced when he doesn't have the maiden.
Yep, it is. And despite the fact that, we talked about those combat stats that are going to be kind of like pseudo evening out the gold, but item completions are still worth more than just like the flat adaptive force. And now the third items are starting to come through. IE is done for Bvoy. So he is very, very strong at this point. Rahel needs to get his Infinity Edge in. Has been farming at a very fast clip. Both these guys above 10 CS per minute.
Yeah.
And Palafox, you have to think, is probably heading towards a death cap next. He's sitting on 1,600 gold, so it's not going to be too long until he gets that big completion. And then it is going to be terrifying with these two burst items followed up by a death cap, or maybe even a shadow flame, whatever he wants to go for. It is going to be pretty nasty.
I mean, the timer, too, seems like it's going to be great for Shopify because he should be able to complete that purchase within the next 3 minutes before that Ocean Soul spawns. And if you get Ocean Soul when you've got Jax and Sejuani, they are going to be so difficult to kill.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. Counter-Strike just gets so much value across the board, it feels like, against the team. You know,
not Hwei, but everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Wukong, Yorick, and this Xayah. It's kind of like a lot of auto attacks and physical damage that you can block pretty easily with that. Castle is level 16, but is going to have to back it off as he knows his jungler is not on this side of the map. Contractz could come down, so hasn't really been able to progress through side lane very much. They did take some of those tier 1s, but only when they did have those additional members there. And now with Baron active, it's a lot harder to then go to that side lane and kind of overload one side of the map because you're risking Baron take on the other side.
Well, Rahel will clear out the minion wave here at mid. Also getting close to his Infinity Edge being completed, and you know that if Disguise wants to have a chance of stopping the Ocean Soul take, of stopping Shopify from securing that massive power spike, they need to get this Infinity Edge online yesterday.
Yep. Yeah, it needs a couple hundred more gold. So should be able to get it, I think, especially if they just give them some jungle camps and whatnot as they spawn.
Yeah, just feed them stuff.
Exactly. I mean, eXyu's on 2 items. You're not getting 3. You're not getting anywhere close to 3. So you want to make sure that that Infinity Edge is done. And should be able to do that, I think, no problem here. You can see DARKWINGS working towards his third item, but he is still pretty far away. Is sitting on 800 gold right now, so could at least get, part of the Leandries, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get there at this point. Just about a minute 10.
Palafox got his hat. It's scary stuff there in the mid lane. The Dark Seal has 4 stacks on it, so nothing crazy, but it's scary stuff to try to deal with these neutral objective fights, especially if you're not there first. If a Nami wave comes flying out of a brush and then right over the top, there's the ball plus the shock wave. How are you even supposed to recover a fight that starts that way?
I mean, you're probably not, and they're just going to be starting up this Baron. That is super risky if they get engaged on here.
Yeah, this is the YOLO play from Disguise. Castle and Fudge both making their way up. Nice shockwave from Palafox. Rahel and eXyu are both nearly killed immediately. Rahel down to only 150 HP. Nobody is dead, but it does not matter. They are all forced completely away as Shopify Rebellion will now take control over the topside river, over the Baron pit itself. Disguise trying to regroup. eXyu is still only at 1/3 HP.
It's theirs.
He will not be able to recall and then still try to participate in this Baron. So this Baron is Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, and you can see that Castle was pinging assist over onto the Dragon, because now they're saying, you know what, if we don't get the Dragon, then we're cooked, right? We're going to lose Soul. We're going to lose Baron as well. And then it's like, how do you ever stop them from pushing? And it kind of feels like DSG may have just lost the game without even having a fight at this point, because I don't know, it's going to be really tough, it feels like, now to stop them. Everyone back to base and was even able to buy up as well.
All right, team. Let's see what you got. Disguised. Can you prevent the Ocean Soul? All right, they're going for it. Disguise will actually stop the Soul for now. Shopify Rebellion wanted to go back, complete their purchases with the influx of gold from the Baron. We've got the, what a reminder, nearly completed for Bvoy, but he does have the Last Whisper, which is very important so that he can shoot through some of the armor on the front line there. And it looks like Fudge and Contractz will go ahead and knock down the last little bit of health on this tier 2 turret here in the top lane. Seeker's Arm Guard also completed for Fudge. Massive pickup for the next big fight.
Yeah, it's going to be really important to have that for the next fight. Just dive in the back line, put the pressure onto Rahel, and be able to go into that stasis. And now it becomes the Zhonya, so that is up and ready. It's been a very low action game, and it does just feel like DSG is just kind of bleeding out without actually really ever finding their moment. And we talked about trying to find a moment to really go aggressive, and I guess their attempt was the Baron, but it was very risky, and no one reacted to that shockwave. You know, no one flashed it. There wasn't like a Xayah ult to answer it. They're gonna try to look now.
Yeah, Contractz in some danger here, but the redemption coming out from Seos isn't enough to save him in time. Now eXyu's got to try to escape, as the shockwave will not find a target there. Disguised managed to go in, get their kill. It cost the flash from DARKWINGS. It costs the flash from eXyu, but they get what they came for, and that's at least going to pump the brakes a little bit here on what Shopify's trying to do.
Yeah, and they got the flash off of Contractz as he flashed out very late there. I think hoping that maybe Nami could keep him alive. You talked about the redemption, but also the heal was used. Look at that damage onto Rahel, though. That is like 55% of your health with one quick trade.
Yeah, that was a lot of burst. And now the Xayah, luckily he didn't panic and use the ulti there, so at least he's still got that get out of jail free card. But there's so much pressure here in the mid lane. Hwei is normally so effective at clearing out the waves, it just makes the Baron that much more valuable when Shopify is able to secure it. They've still got 45 seconds left in the Red Bull Baron power play, and they're going to continue using that to just snowball this gold lead larger and larger. And now that gold lead is over 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000 in the advantage for them. Still, because they elected to not go for the soul and they didn't deal, you know, game-ending damage, you know, we talked about, like, what was it, 1.8K or whatever worth of stats from the extra flowers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're down 5K, but the Baron's going to expire. You didn't get soul. And this pick, pretty nice from DSG. And it's just huhi starting it off, you know, full CC chain onto him. Tries to flash out very late, but does get burst down. eXyu and DARKWINGS have to flash to get back, and a little bit of frustration there on the face from Contractz, you could see.
I think that's probably mostly just got to be for the flash timing, because you're like, okay, if I was going to flash, it should have been earlier than that, because you 100% could have survived.
Yeah, no, I agree fully. Maybe he was thinking I can live long enough and bait them in, you know, and try to hold your flash late, and then you have, okay, I have redemption, Nami heal, Nami W, that's going to keep me alive. Didn't work out that way, but it's going to be 2 minutes until Shopify have another attempt here, as huhi, even through the damage reduction there on the Celestial opposition, does get absolutely lit up by Bvoy.
Yeah, you got to be so careful with this Lucian, man. Bvoy is out of control right now as Contractz jumps in, finds a Glacial Prison onto eXyu, who jumps back over the wall there with his clone. So escapes for now. It's a pretty big engage tool down to the side of Shopify, but they got the redemption from Nami. They'll keep the health bars topped off, and they want to keep this pressure on.
Yeah, they're just going to keep constantly trying to rinse and repeat here. It's kind of up to Bvoy. Just land the poke that you can. Huhi's going to look.
Yeah, Huhi jumps into the back line. He finds an initial lockup onto Xayah. A little bit more is not enough just yet as Rahel goes into the back line looking for Bvoy even further. He finds 2 kills. Rahel stepping up as Fudge at least gets one back onto eXyu, but Disguised are showing some signs of magic here. Castle now continuing to try to lock down Fudge and Palafox, prevent them from getting away. Disguised knows they have to get more. Palafox and Fudge continuing to retreat. Severing Bolt finds no target. Contractz just wants to slow Huhi down, but the beautiful engage from Huhi, the follow-up from Rahel, the bottom lane of Disguised finds their moment and they strike.
Yeah, that was a really good engage there from Huhi, getting in, finding multiple members. Even with the shockwave there for the counter engage from Palafox, it was not enough to stop Rahel from getting in. This is back to the earlier attempt from Shopify. And then the engage here, because Bvoy got chunked down, the redemption comes out, they say, you know what, maybe there is an angle. And Huhi just pulls the trigger, flash in, double charm, gets Xayah and Bvoy, and then the claw as well from DARKWINGS, tags them both, and Rahel says, with that I can make something happen. Goes in, Ghost Flash ulti, knocks down both of those bot laners. The newbies there, great follow-up on Hui's initial engage. And bringing them back within striking distance. The question is, did they spend too much in that previous fight to win this one?
Okay, let's see what they can do here. It's still Ocean Soul if Shopify gets it. Fudge looking for the chance to mount a pincer attack here through the Tribe Rush, but Castle successfully marks him, doesn't allow the Jax to find the flank angle onto the back line of Disguised. Huhi gonna take just an initial little bit of damage there from Contractz on the Sejuani, but eXyu still hanging out in the Ocean Rift brush just to make sure that he's always close to this Dragon, wants to guarantee that if nothing else, he can at least fight for it. Fudge versus Castle off to the side, Dragon down to 1,000! It's taken by eXyu and Disguise, but now what about the fight after? Contractz trying to keep chasing as Bvoy gets the kill on eXyu, and Shopify Rebellion are looking for even more. The blade color is used, Contractz is hurt, but he is not down yet. Fudge looking for his approach angle, wanted to get the stun with the counter strike, but a nice use of the hard CC from DARKWINGS keeps everybody protected for now, but Rahel is dead. Palafox going on a killing spree, and Bvoy is blessed up by the Nami, a piercing light through the hearts of Disguise as Shopify Rebellion are marching it down bottom lane. Now Castle the entire time has been up in mid, split pushing as Yorick does. He will work to take down that tier 2 turret. He will at least get a little bit of something back, but that fight goes Shopify's way despite losing the Drake.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to TP out. They do get the smite. That is so big from eXyu. Being able to land that smite meant that they don't lose the soul, and they still are kind of hanging on, but they are hanging on by a thread at this point. It was always going to be a tough fight as Rahel has no summoners. His ult does come back up. They get the initial engage, but Huhi took so much damage, and then that shockwave comes through. eXyu is just deleted. You see them trying to run out, and I guess they were worried about walking through the Tribe Rush because they thought Fudge would come in there. The initial CC here was really nice. The fear into the knock-up there from Huhi to try to peel off that Jax. But Rahel without Ghost, Rahel without ulti, you're never outrunning them in that spot. You're never going to get home safe. So I feel like maybe they could have taken the more risky pathway through that Tribe Rush, and it could have given them an opportunity, but it was always going to be tough to escape. And now 7K is the lead. They're baroned up once again here. Pretty much full builds coming through. As you can see, the Magi's has been purchased there by Palafox.
Yep, 8 stacks on that one. Fudge, the target of Castle's Yorick, but the Jax is so strong now, man. He's got the Hourglass fully done. He's always going to have the extra threat onto the back line that provides him by just letting him jump in completely focused on getting the kill on Rahel or DARKWINGS even, because the Hwei is so vulnerable at this point in the game, man. No real powerful defensive tools except for just that single target fear at point blank range. So if there's a concerted effort for the dive from Shopify, it is big problems for the carry in the mid lane from Disguise. But they are still holding on for now. They've got to weather yet another Baron push. Rahel doing plenty of damage on this Xayah, has 4 fully completed items and the BF sword for his final one in inventory. So he's honestly pretty much same game state here as the Lucian.
He's basically dead even with the Lucian. Mid lane is obviously a big problem though, as DARKWINGS is going to be way less effective than Palafox. And Bvoy looking with culling.
Yeah, Bvoy nearly kills Darkwings from 100 to 0. The Hwei barely survives, but now without the mid laner healthy enough to fight, it means Shopify get the extra little bit of time they need to take out the tier 3 turret in the top lane. Now a teleport to bring Fudge back in. He just purchased a fully completed Sterix Cage. He's got that and Azonia's now. The Jax is so incredibly difficult to kill, and 2 inhibitors are vulnerable. The one in top is about to die already with the 2 blessed up cannon minions already firing into it. They'll be able to finish the job, and Shopify switch their attention over to mid lane.
Yeah, Fudge getting healed up by the Nami there, which is pretty critical. They're gonna go!
eXyu decides to flash engage, but Palafox ain't gonna be found just yet. Huhi in the back, but nobody follows it up, and now Fudge is putting the pressure on Rahel and eXyu. Disguised have lost their main engage tools, they have lost their support, and their base is starting to crumble. Luckily, bottom lane does not have a minion wave in the right position. They can't get 3 inhibbed, but Shopify might just be looking for the Nexus instead. They'll continue moving forward, minion waves pouring in from mid and top with super minions now, as Bvoy just gonna try to put a couple more bullets there into the maid and maybe take that out. Super minion arriving from mid lane, and Shopify are not done yet. 20 seconds left still on this Baron, 20 seconds left of pushing power. Immediately Glacial Fissure locks up Rahel, but they don't quite have enough damage to kill him. Castle stuck in the front line now, wants to get a little bit more damage onto Bvoy, but it ain't gonna be enough. Palafox, unstoppable. Castle can't hold on, and neither can the Nexus turrets. Disguised scrambles to try to keep the game alive, but I don't think it's gonna work today. Everybody on Disguise is about to fall as Bvoy jumps into the fountain, and Shopify Rebellion, after 40 minutes, win the game and take the series.